Now, yesterday we had a very important vote on 4 different bills related to gun control, including bills for background checks. Now, unfortunately, none of them passed. They all failed largely along party lines, basically just a week after the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history. It was a shooting at the Pulse nightclub that left 49 people dead and over 50 injured. Now, on this, senators voted 53 to 47 on a proposal from Senator Chuck Grassley that would basically reauthorize funding for the National Criminal Instant Background Check System and incentivize states to share mental health records with the federal system. Now, 53-47. Now, if we had a normal functioning Senate, that would have passed by simple majority. But since we don't have a normal functioning Senate, you need 60 votes to break a filibuster, or an intended filibuster. So 60 votes were needed. They did not get 60 votes. Now, GOP Senator Mark Kirk and Cory Gardner voted against moving forward with Grassley's proposal, and Democratic Senator Joe Donnelly did support it. Now, the Grassley proposal would have cracked down on preventing government agencies from selling guns to criminals as part of an undercover sting operation, such as Fast and Furious, in which they claim guns were sold to suspected gun traffickers. Now, it also says that they can't do that unless top Department of Justice officials sign off on that sufficient safeguards are in place. All right. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said, unlike Senator Grassley's proposal, the Democratic alternative would not help prevent failed gun operations like Fast and Furious. Unlike Senator Grassley's proposal, it would not require the Department of Justice to explain why it has not been using gun laws in the books to prosecute cases. See, this is their argument. This is what they do. You're not actually enforcing the laws in the books. Why don't you enforce the first laws, the laws that we already have, before you start creating new laws? When there's actually no evidence that we're not using the existing gun laws. Every time they try to enforce the existing gun laws, people freak out and flip out. You are repressing my Second Amendment rights. Even though they're within the law to do these laws and to enforce these laws. It's crazy. There's actually no evidence of this. But anyway, there's also the whole issue of Fast and Furious. Now, Fast and Furious, not quite a real thing, right? I mean, yes, it did happen. But the government didn't sell guns to criminals. What they did is that they couldn't prevent guns from being sold to criminals that were used. They were able to track them, but they couldn't prevent them from being sold thanks to lax gun laws in states like Arizona and other border states. They didn't give guns to criminals. No, they actually couldn't do anything about the guns getting into criminals' hands, thanks to your lax gun laws. So obviously, Mitch McConnell is playing politics and being a dick. But that's what he does. So, now the Democrats, they did back a measure from Senator Chuck Schumer, Cory Booker, Richard Blumenthal, and Chris Murphy, who of course did the filibuster that got this whole thing started. Now, this bill would require a background check for most sales or transfers of guns. That's pretty straightforward, right? Nothing on Fast and Furious, nothing on anything like that, right? Just, hey, background checks for most gun sales and transfers. Fair enough. Unfortunately, that measure, which also needed 60 votes, failed 44 to 56. No Republicans voted for it. Absolutely none. Senators also voted on 2 proposals to block suspected terrorists from buying guns. Now, there's an important thing, right? Nobody wants terrorists to have guns, right? I mean, you can't tell me that somebody would actually vote against blocking suspected terrorists from getting guns, right? That also failed. Both of them. No change. No, did you think there was actually going to be progress on this? Did you think they would actually do something? Of course not. Look, most of these Republicans, they're owned by the gun lobby. 56 of these senators are on the record of being stridently anti-gun control and have excellent ratings with the NRA, as well as having received lots of campaign contributions. I have a few examples. John McCain received $7 million, $7,740,000 from the gun lobby, from the NRA. Cory Gardner received $3,879,000 from the NRA. Joni Ernst received $3 million in campaign contributions. Roy Blunt received $1,439,000 from the NRA, and the list goes on and on and on. In fact, according to data compiled by the Center for American Progress Action Fund, the NRA has contributed a total of $36,290,699 over the course of all 50 senators' careers. And it was a Vox study. They looked at 50 of the Republican senators. They looked at that and they tallied up all the money they received from the NRA in lobbying. This is a Senate bought and sold by the NRA. Now the NRA, I remember when they actually used to be about gun safety and proper training, and even measures of sane gun control. I remember that. Now, they don't do that anymore. Now the NRA is nothing more than a front group for gun manufacturers who, pardon the pun, make a killing after every single mass shooting. I mean, what's the first thing people do when they hear a mass shooting? Get your gun, get your gun, get your gun. I'm gonna go buy a new gun. I need to be safe. The terrorists are coming. The right-wing terrorists are coming. No, they don't say right-wing terrorists. But if you're a Muslim fundamentalist terrorist, by definition, you are right-wing. So what happens when people, get scared after a mass shooting? Well, they go out and buy a gun. And that, of course, goes right into the NRA's pockets, right into the pockets of the gun manufacturers, who then give to the NRA, and then the NRA buys the politicians. It's a wonderful racket they have going on. And now, of course, they own our politicians, or at least half of them, lock, stock, and barrel, man. And I do not expect anything to change because of that. Because look, if the deaths of over 20 children in their classroom wasn't enough to change the laws, I really doubt that anything else could.